Welcome to the Verbal Nonsense Podcast. I'm Joel,
I'm Todd.
and today I would like to start by giving a shout out to my friend Stephanie Smith.
Absolutely. New graphics for the page. I'm going to interrupt us because I think they look amazing. I really do. She did an amazing job. Talk about customer service. Please talk about customer service.
Well, I would say as soon as she hopped on, we got quick turnarounds every time. Whenever we made an approval on a choice or style, the turnaround on it was pretty damn quick.
Oh, absolutely. It was great. It gave us 4 to pick from. We brainstormed. We looked at them. We got many opinions, and honestly, 3 of the 4 were kind of hard to pick from. Not to say the 4th one wasn't nice, borderline amazing, but goodness gracious. And then we boiled it down to 2, and we were still flipping coins, and it came up heads.
Yeah, if she had just given us any of them just one, it would have like, all right, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I would have just said, hey, that looks awesome. That really looks awesome.
She gave us 4 amazing options, and it was a hard time choosing.
It really was. It was almost like asking our wives for where they want to go eat. My wife's fictitious. I don't have one. But dinner's always on time.
Oh my goodness. All right. And we will put a link to her LinkedIn into the description of this video.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be in our channel description as well. Should you ever need any graphic design done. She does do this for a living, if I recall.
Yes.
I don't know.
She does.
But rates reasonable.
Absolutely.
And the quality you get, I couldn't be happier.
All right. Shall we get this started?
Yeah. Okay. That's fine.
I'll let you lead on.
Oh, you're gonna let me lead? Let me lead then. Talking about rugby, of course, the rugby. I don't know. What do? They got a Rugby World Cup? I don't think they do. This is the Autumn Internationals. Basically, Samoa and Japan are about to face off, and things are getting a little sensitive already. Of course, in Japan, tattoos are considered linked with organized crimes, particularly the Yakuza. The issue here is that in Japan, if you have a lot of tattoos, you could be banned from public places. You can be banned from gyms. You could be banned from professional sports. They're not tattoo friendly. And that is because their organized crime is pretty rough, pretty prominent, pretty corrupt, and they just want nothing to do with it. It's not like here where years and years ago, if you had a ton of tattoos, you were either some kind of sailor or a biker or something like that, little kind of on the outskirts of civilized, human being. Of course, now, you got freaking
Tattoos everywhere.
And I'm not saying I disapprove. I just don't quite understand how culturally something that said, look at me, I'm a badass, is now like, look at me, I'm now a chef at a ramen bar and I've got these sleeves, man. But what's happening? Yeah, right. Okay. So what's happening is the Pacific Islanders of Samoa, which also culturally are very pro-tattoo.
Yes.
Extremely. These guys are proud of their heritage, and tattoos are part of their heritage, are covered in them. Many of the players of the Samoan rugby team, excuse me. I said football because I said World Cup earlier, and I was thinking soccer, and it's very confusing because it's rugby, soccer, and American football season all in one. Real football. It's rough, man. It's rough. So, but basically what's going on is that the Samoans are saying we're willing to hide our culture to essentially, what's the word I'm looking for? Basically be a little more sensitive, I guess, to Japan's disapproval of tattoos. You know, it's like it's kind of a coin toss, because to me personally, and I'm fine with people being sensitive about other cultures. I approve of it. You know, I think it's great. But what you have here is an instance where Samoa, it is deeply rooted in their culture. And then you have Japan, where tattoos are the not really, the disapproval of tattoos is deeply rooted in their culture. So what do? Do you stop a rugby match over it? What is happening is last December, the World Rugby Association advised both players and supporters to cover up their tattoos during the tournament. Not on grounds that, hey, it might offend other people. In particular, not like, hey, Japan doesn't like them, the entire world needs to cover up their tattoo. That's not what happened. They just said in general, let's just go ahead and be respectful of people who don't approve of these things. But they are. They're wearing basically skin tone sleeves to cover up their tattoos, and I'm not 100% sure where I stand on this. Or I think it's cool that they went willingly and did this is cool. That's great. But at the same time, this is the Samoan team. You expect to see Samoans.
Yes.
I feel like, me personally, if Samoan culture is tattoos, then as people watching it should get the full Samoan experience.
I agree.
I don't know.
I agree with that. I don't think people should have to hide their tattoos just because. But, they chose to do it, so.
They did choose to do it.
I respect that. The Samoans should definitely have been able to display their tattoos proudly, but the fact that they chose to hide them, I mean, that's, that was their decision, I guess.
Yeah, I think so.
Awkward silence.
Well, just hang on. I'll freaking clip it. It was... Okay, one of the managers stated that we have to respect the culture of the land in wherever we go. Apparently, that is also part of the Samoans' culture. So we have our own culture as well, but we are not in Samoa now. So, they respect itself is part of their culture. And they choose to see that as a sign of respecting other cultures to hide their own culture.
When in Rome.
When in Rome, yeah, that's actually apparently that's a good way of seeing it, and that's part of their culture to see it that way. I worked with they called themselves a family of Samoans. I'm not 100% sure they were all related because there was like 30 of them when I worked in Wyoming, and if one person missed, they all missed work. Yeah, it was part of the iron working crew, and there was Samoans of all shapes and sizes. There was the typical, 6'5", 6'6" giants that were like 400 pounds, that just massive guys. And then there was the non-typical Samoan, I guess, who was like, under 6 foot. I'm talking like 5'5", 5'7", just small dudes. Those guys were scary. There was one who was apparently the shortest of the group. I think he was closer to like 5'4". He was short. Had some serious rage issues. I heard stories that there was threatening with a bullpen to the foreman. And if you don't know what a bullpen is, it's a large metal spike about this big that they use to align bolt holes with in steel beams. But it was interesting. It was interesting working with them, especially since knowing that they are from Samoa, and it was negative 10 degrees outside the entire time we were there. Yeah. But I remember coming to work, and they just weren't there. And I was like, where's the crew at? Because I was welding for them. I was like, where on earth is the Samoans? They're like, one of them's sick. I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, and when one of them takes off work, they all take off work. I'm like, there's like 30 of them. So what do I do? And I sat and sorted bolts for like 2 days because there was zero work. Because they were the entire crew that I was working with. So I just put nuts on, 1.5-inch bolts all day. It was pretty cool because that tent was heated. They had a heater in there, and it was very comfortable. But that's all I have to say about rugby and ironworking.
So for 2 days, you were cozy.
I was very cozy for 2 days. I was actually very cozy after visiting GNC. Adding back to that story, I went to GNC because I read that a heightened metabolism is also good for keeping you warm. So I went over to GNC and I asked them, what do you guys have for metabolism? And they're like, you don't look like you need. I said, man, I just want to stay warm. I'm just testing the theory here. And so they recommended these nitric oxide pills, which were for, I guess, bodybuilders. And so I was taking these and sweating. Negative 10, I'm stripping down to a t-shirt and running flights of stairs to get to my work area. I was on the 14th floor that we were working on at this power plant. And, it's not 14th. It was the 140 floor, 140 foot up. And I'm just sprinting these stairs with my gear. I got drug tested 3 times during that job, and each time I told them, I said, man, it's these pills from GNC. They're amazing. And I found out that particular one, I don't remember what they were called. I remember it just had the, basically the NOx or something like that. It was in the GNC brand bottle, taken off the market because apparently they were dangerous.
Oh.
All I know is I didn't freeze in Wyoming. So that's all I have to say about it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, man. Well, I'm going to go and talk about the article I found where Florida man discovers decades dead body using Google Earth.
Gross.
The man was using Google Earth to view a home that he grew up in, and in the pond that's behind the property, he spotted what looked like to be a car in the water.
I think horror movies start out this way.
He contacted the current owner of the home, who flew a camera-toting drone over the pond to take a closer look at the sunken object, and he confirmed there was indeed a car in his pond. When he reached out to the local sheriff's office, and when they removed the car from the water and opened it up, skeletal remains were found, and they have been identified as a man who had been missing for 22 years.
Does it say how big this pond is? Because that's an odd flex. He owns the place. He wants to go out and look at a pond that he owns, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get my drone out, run out there.
No, it doesn't say.
That's crazy. And we'll see if I can't find some pictures of this.
But I mean,
my typewriter. Yeah, no, there is a picture. No, there's a freaking video. Ah, there it is. Okay.
it's a good size. It stretches behind several blocks.
Okay.
I actually just clicked on the link for the actual Google Earth photo.
Okay, yeah, so you're seeing it as well. What would you say that's probably a good 20 feet out. I would say that's 20 feet. At least 20 feet, and it's probably 6.
I mean, it looks
good
like it
6
gets
feet deep
fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's definitely more of a
Because
reservoir
it
than a
gets dark
pond.
and murky fast.
Yeah. Granted, that is Florida water. Yeah, they might have clean beaches, but
I mean,
their fresh water has, North American murder logs in them.
I'm willing to bet if no one spotted that from shore,
Yeah,
then it was actually pretty deep.
I
down
agree. I agree. I guess the drone.
The lighting conditions were just right.
Yeah. Old Google finding them bodies. Nothing safe. Not your information, not your dead bodies. Just nothing.
Yeah.
What was that? They made a movie about them. Those like bodybuilders or whatever who ended up killing people and shoving them off.
Is that the one with Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that movie was great. Where they reminded you that it was based on a true story while The Rock was barbecuing that guy's fingerprints off. Yeah, that was Pain and Gain. That was a great movie. I enjoyed it.
And it was. I mean, if it wasn't based on a true story, it wouldn't have been all that great of a movie. Because there were just I felt through most of the movie, I was just kind of like, but then you remember this is based on something that actually happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, yeah. And it keeps you riveted to the movie.
It's definitely a good Florida story. These Floridians really don't know how to behave.
Like the scene where he's flipping the hands.
Yeah, he's barbecuing.
And it flashes on the screen. Still a true story.
Still true.
Yeah.
Still true.
Yeah.
Did they identify this Florida man, or?
Yeah, they identified him.
Was it foul play, or did he just drunk drive into?
They haven't figured that out yet.
I think the odds of it being murder or a guy just deciding to take a nap at the bottom of a reservoir.
Apparently, that night he was last seen leaving a local bar.
Oh, he might have just been drunk.
Yeah, but you look at that map. It's good distance from the road, and where his car is, that's behind the house. I mean, I think someone would have noticed the car tracks across the lawn. Just saying.
It might have been a pretty wild neighborhood 20 years ago.
Like the 1904 St. Louis Olympics, the Wild West.
Wild West. That's Florida still. Florida's weird. I mean, yeah, it's you could have an entire podcast just on Florida news. It's a weird place. Yeah, immediately. Goodness gracious, when did this happen? Well, crap, back in 2009. This is the one I remembered, but apparently it happened a lot longer ago than I thought. But there's a Florida man, old Keith R. Griffith. He's been charged. He was charged with. He was 48 years old. Keith R. Griffith was charged with 10 counts of possession of child pornography after the detective found over thousands of such images on his computer. This is back in 2009, and this is Florida, mind you. In his defense, Mr. Griffin told detectives he would leave his computer on and his cat would jump on the keyboard. When he returned there will be strange material downloaded.
Mm-hmm. Damn cat.
He's in jail. This is the article. He's in jail with a bail set at $250,000. His cat is still running free. It's just Florida, man. They're just weird. There's a bunch of them. I just honestly just clicked Florida news and crazy stuff. Florida man calls 911 80 times to demand Kool-Aid, hamburgers, and weed. You literally could. We could spend days. Just days.
Oh, I know. I remember when I was peeking around for the last episode, there was that woman who had the baby alligator in her yoga pants when she got pulled over at a traffic Yeah. Is that a baby alligator in your pants, or are you just happy to see?
I'm going to leave that one alone.
Okay.
Yeah. I could get weird real quick. Yeah. Almost as weird as the Amish in Ohio. Oh, man. Am I stealing this one from you? Did you want to do this one?
Yeah, go for it.
We both found it, but
I know.
Yeah,
go for it. You found more info than I did.
Yeah, no, but in Ohio here on the 18th, a couple days ago, old Trumbull County, Ohio, the police are searching for two men who fled a traffic stop involving an Amish buggy equipped with a booming stereo. The deputy reported seeing the two Amish men drinking as they rode on the back of the buggy early Sunday. And the officer saw a 12-pack of Michelob Ultra on the back of the buggy, and he tried to pull it over. It's just... there's Amish in our area, and sometimes they're cruising on the road, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're cruising in the middle of the road, not often. Most of the time, they're just on the side. And those horses are hauling at a good 10 to 15 miles an hour. I've discovered a few times that I've gotten stuck behind them. This was a chase of O.J. Simpson proportions. Probably the slowest police chase ever. But apparently these guys ducked off into the woods and never came back. Upon investigating the buggy, the deputy found several open containers of alcohol and a radio sound system. For some reason, the article needed to put that in quotations. I'm not sure. Maybe this was hooked up to like an old phonograph, or those are the ones with the cartridges, right? The phonographs?
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Maybe they had one of those going. I'm assuming they didn't. It seems like our northern plains states Amish like to cheat when it comes to electronics and things that they're not allowed to use. They like to.
Yeah. I didn't think that would be on the list of things they were allowed to have.
Maybe they were only allowed to listen to Amish Paradise by Weird Al Yankovic. Yeah, it's the thing. It's like you can listen to popular music so long as it's Amish Paradise and covers of Amish Paradise. There's bound to be covers out there. But the buggy was towed, and the horses are being carried. Oh, it's a single horse. It was a single horse buggy, so I guess they were just out for a stroll. They didn't have a team. But
I figured with a system inside, they'd go for two horses.
Yeah, it's weird because the system, there actually is a picture of it, and it's like home audio speaker box just wedged into the back of this Amish buggy. It's a very makeshift operation. I question this family's barn raising skills. It's like I thought they said these pies were Amish made. This tastes really familiar. And he goes, well, Yeah, it's a Jello cheesecake mix, but we are Amish. We did make it. I don't know. It seems very half-assed. But the men fled into the woods. And while the horse continued to pull the buggy before it eventually came to a stop. So these guys did a tuck and roll and booked it for the tree line. I'm trying to picture them. I wonder if any of them lost their straw hats. I'm guessing these were young Amish men and didn't have very long Amish beards, because it seems like if they were, could there be like Amish beards stuck in the wheels, the old wagon wheels, as they're doing this very 90s action movie role? I don't know.
Out of the carriage.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, all Amish look the same, so I don't really see this case getting any further. They're not going to find them. They're going to go back into the deep Amish underground of the Amish mafia.
I think a lot of them keep to their own.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They're probably going to go visit some cousins in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania.
I was going to say Pennsylvania has a huge Amish community.
Huge. If you want to find you an Amish puppy mill, Pennsylvania is the place to go. I've watched a few documentaries on it. The Amish love, they keep them like cattle. I'm not saying all of them. There might be some Amish people who care about animals. I'm sure there are, but
not the ones around here.
Yeah, but they literally keep these animals like cattle, and they just as soon as one's born, they're breeding them again. They breed them till they die.
Dang.
Yeah. But that's all the article had. That's all I have on it. I don't have any more funny quips to add to it.
Well, this one that I next might have is a slightly older story, but entertaining to me anyway. This took place in 2015. Some thieves broke in and stole a cash register from a Build-A-Burger restaurant, along with the establishment's entire surveillance system and a large bowl of macaroni salad.
You know how restaurants, and I'm mostly just thinking about KFC, Taco Bell at this point in time, but do you think Build-A-Burger might have had a joint venture with Build-A-Bear, where you can build a bear and a burger, maybe even a burger bear, depending on what part of the country you're from? You might be in Canada, they might have bear burger meat, and moose you burgers. Could just moose burger. I was going more with the bear theme because that's more ironic, but you could go in there and you could have Build-A-Burger, Build-A-Bear, themed Build-A-Bears.
Build-A-Bear and burger combo.
Yeah, it's like, and then there's like that one drunk guy who comes in with all his drunk friends who gets all confused and thinks he's supposed to shove the hamburger meat in the bear, and he doesn't know what's going on, and he hands it to the dude, and it's like, here.
But he puts the stuffing from the bear into the burger bun.
Yeah, and dies. It just
No, he just goes home a little fluffier.
It just absorbs in his intestines, and he can't pass it and explodes.
That's kind of dark.
So, macaroni salad was stolen.
All right. The deputies were hot on the criminal's trail, literally, as they attempted to escape via the rear near Greenway Trail. Found along the trail were cash register parts, surveillance system parts, rubber gloves, loose change, and a steady trail of macaroni salad. It was later discovered that the suspect stole a large bowl of macaroni salad, which they took turns eating along their escape route. Officers arrested Matthew P. Sepecto, 34, James P. Marullo, 35, and Timothy Walker Jr., 23, by early Sunday afternoon.
So there's two grown men and a young adult in this.
And apparently they left a trail of macaroni salad, which led to their arrest.
That's what happened to Hansel and Gretel, too. They had that trail of breadcrumbs.
Oh, yeah.
That's insane. I'm just trying to figure out why these grown men were robbing a Build-A-Burger with a 23-year-old kid. I don't mean
I
kid
don't
in a
know.
bad way, but I mean there's a generation gap there. I'm assuming they just all three of them did the same drugs.
Probably.
I find it interesting that they decided to steal the surveillance equipment. I'm assuming these are the cameras.
It just says they stole the entire surveillance system.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, because the video feed is not stored within the camera itself. That's a hot tip for anybody thinking about robbing a liquor store or something.
But I mean, they stole it all. That
They
means they
just
stole
took
the
everything.
computer parts. They stole the cameras.
It's just three guys. I'm actually more impressed with this heist now that we dig into it.
But you know, they were eating it while they were making their escape.
You just got this bowl now.
Here, you want some?
There you go. I'm hoping they had some backpacks or a radio flyer wagon. Because they were on foot. That was their first mistake. They were on foot. So why on earth would they steal that much? Just get the cash. If you need a surveillance, I don't know. I've never actually heard of a Build-A-Burger.
Me neither.
You know, the only Build-A-Burger type place I could remember was like Fuddruckers.
Apparently this was in Mount Morris, New York.
No, okay. I don't really picture a lot of macaroni salad in New York. I don't know why. That just seems more of a West Coast thing.
That's was just about at every barbecue I'd ever been to in New England.
Okay.
Macaroni salad.
That sells that. You heard it here first.
Yep. It's a New England staple.
It's a staple.
Prove me wrong.
What do you guys put in your macaroni salad? I'm curious now.
I don't know. Everybody makes it a little different.
There's not it's a staple, but it's different everywhere you go.
Well, I mean, not largely, but I mean, some
Okay.
people put peas in it, some people put green beans in it.
Okay, this is getting very different. You know, okay, so like macaroni salad on the West Coast was macaroni, mayo, sometimes mustard, depending on where you were at. There'd be olives, onions, and celery.
Celery, onion, definitely. I don't think I ever saw it on the East Coast with olives in it. And then sometimes people would put like maybe some chopped tomato in there.
Yeah, okay, I've seen tomato.
Yeah.
But did they use mayo? Because I've also seen, like, the closer I get to the East Coast, I spent a little bit of time on the East Coast, not a whole lot. Didn't eat a lot of macaroni salad while I was over there. Didn't really see it offered. But, you know, the closer states, you know, some of the cooks that I worked with when I worked on the Mississippi River who were from that side would put tomatoes. But instead of mayo and sometimes mustard, it would be like Italian dressing. Yeah.
That depends. Some people use like an Italian dressing, but that may it depends. Like I know a lot of Italians in Greeks who would do some sort of dressing instead of a mayo in their salads. But I have seen plenty out there with the mayo, with a little bit of mustard sometimes, depending, you know, on that type of shenanigans that you're into.
I'm out of focus.
I see that. You're like Bigfoot.
There we go. Had to lean back, get back in focus.
For a minute there, I thought I was going to have to put you in the Bigfoot subcategory.
It's a lizard.
For being fuzzy and out of focus.
It's further proof that Todd from the Verbal Nonsense Podcast is actually a reptilian.
Is that why you go out of focus?
That's what it is. I don't know. You know, I was looking that up a little bit. I don't know. I've heard of it, but I hadn't really found out what it actually is, the lizard people, and all the examples that I've been shown that this is video proof that like Lord Rothschild is a reptilian. It was always like the camera would go out of focus and he'd say, "See there?" No, I don't see there at all. Actually, I'm talking to YouTube, and I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, no, out of focus. That's where it's at. Is yeah. So they arrested him. Have they?
Oh yeah.
They've been charged with.
They were charged with third-degree burglary, third-degree criminal mischief, and fourth-degree larceny.
I feel more of a pasta charge should be in order here.
Kidnapping and theft of a large bowl of macaroni salad.
That actually sounds good. I might make some of that today.
You're welcome.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Maybe some of this Amish Michelob Ultra.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, that's all I got on that story.
Really?
You have anything else?
Got this rugby story about Samoa and Japan playing. I don't know how interesting it truly is. Basically what's going on is the rugby international meets are going on today.
I don't think I've ever watched a rugby game.
Not today. It's weird. I've watched like the New Zealand team, and I'm not really sure if they're hardcore into rugby because there's not a whole lot going on in New Zealand. But the Samoan players are going to wear their hearts on their sleeves, but the traditional Pacific Islander tattoos will be covered up this year. Mostly they're not wanting to avoid Japan, their hosts. The Rugby World Cup is in Japan this year. And Japan, it turns out, are very anti-tattoo. Of course, it's mostly linked in their culture to organized crime, specifically the Yakuza, which is a pretty fun video game. But that's where the fun ends in Japan, apparently, where the only people who have tattoos are specifically the Yakuza. Of course, Samoa tattoos are part of their culture. It's part of their tribal culture. It's basically a big identity thing for them. It's this is what we are and who we are. When I first read the article, I was actually kind of like, oh, here we are making everything all politically correct again. But actually reading deeper into it, the team manager went on for the Samoan team. I'm not going to butcher his name, but it says we have to respect the culture of the land wherever we go. You know, we have our own culture, but as we well know, we are not in Samoa now. So in reality, this wasn't a huge controversy per se.
No.
It was more or less them just saying, hey, this is what we're doing. It's interesting because last December, the World Rugby, I guess it's the association, or maybe it's just called World Rugby, I'm not sure, advised both players and supporters to cover up tattoos during the tournament in Japan. Japan's hosting it, so I guess when I read it the first time, I thought it was just like a everywhere thing, but no, it is specific to Japan. I guess it's a real cultural slap for them. I'm not sure. I probably should have looked into that and find out who else has that going on with them. I don't know. This is the Samoan team captain, Jack Lamb. He says that it's quite normal in our culture, but we are respectful and mindful of the Japanese way. We're making sure that we will be making sure that what we are showing will be okay. Currently, Samoa is ranked 16 in the world. They'll face Russia in their opening pool stage. I don't know anything about rugby, so when I read pool, I thought maybe they were swimming. I was just getting a little lost. They will also meet in Scotland, Japan, and Ireland in the first pool. But, yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. I found it interesting. I found it a little less interesting the more I read it, but I still think it's interesting.
Yeah, it is, and it's nice
not really.
some,
But no, it's kind of a nice gesture. It's kind of sweet of him, yeah. But yeah, that's all there really is on that.
And I would like to take this moment to say to our viewers that we have a poll up on our Facebook page right now. If you haven't visited it,
link is in the description.
Yep. Verbal Nonsense Podcast, the same name. And we have a poll up whether or not we should keep making the short videos for Tuesdays and Thursdays. So if you like them, go vote. Say yes. If you don't like them, then vote no, I guess.
Yeah, or if you want less, if you want more, we're easy.
Yeah, if you just rather see like one less or one more, then pop it in the comments underneath the poll.
If you want one more, no, that ain't happening. I'm just going to tell you straight up. If you want longer episodes, if you want them to be more like 20 minutes or 25 minutes during the week, we can do that. I'm not adding another one. That's just me personally. I have a life. I have a couch I like to sit on, take naps on. I've got a refrigerator I like to eat from. I don't have a life, really.
You got to multitask, Todd. Multitask. But anyway, yeah, we want your feedback. Is basically what we're saying.
Yeah.
Let us know. Like I said, the poll's right on our Facebook page.
Absolutely.
It'll be up there for...
You're perusing. Actually, it'll be there for a couple days. So act fast.
Act now while
while we have open ears to your opinions.
But no,
I will let you ask us this one question.
Like I said, or if you have any other feedback on the shorts, just write it in the comments of the poll.
Oh, for sure.
Let us know. Yeah. And I would like to take this moment again to say, to give Stephanie Smith another thank you for the wonderful work she did.
Oh, absolutely. Didn't you say she had a Pinterest also?
No.
I'm a big fan of Pinterest.
I like on the Pinterest.
She doesn't? She doesn't,
I
though?
don't think she does.
Yeah, Stephanie, I would definitely get on some Pinterest if I were you.
Or Fiverr? I don't know.
Fiverr? No. I mean, she's a pro. She doesn't need to be on Fiverr.
That's true.
Yeah, but her LinkedIn will be in the description. Actually, probably shouldn't have a Pinterest. You ever gone down the Pinterest rabbit hole?
Yes, unfortunately.
It's disgusting. You're like looking for, I don't know, peanut butter and jelly sandwich recipes, and next thing you know, you're building an igloo in the Pacific Ocean.
Out of peanut butter and bananas.
Yeah. Pinterest is kind of a dark place. It starts out so good, and then you just go deeper and deeper.
Oh, man.
It's a serious onion.
Well, I don't have any more stories left.
I truly don't either. I actually do have one more on my phone. I was going to cover this last week. I was going to cover this the week before. But Frenchman's death during sex while on business trip is a workplace accident, court rules.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I just didn't click on it.
I did, because I get on all the clickbait. I'm a sucker for clickbait. I'm pretty sure my computer is riddled with viruses. Anything with a screen. If I'm around and they're just... actually, that's a RAM memory module that's probably died. But, no, this guy dies of a heart attack while having sex on a business trip. He works for a railway company. And it's funny, I'm reading this on my phone, and I just put it gently up on my desk as if it's touchscreen as well. I don't know why I found that weird. I've always wanted a touchscreen monitor, but it seems like it'd be more of a pain in the neck because I'm constantly putting like sticky notes and stuff on it, and I don't know. I just want to be able to do this. It's like, ooh, what's that?
To me, that's more effort having to extend your arm up constantly.
The gesture moves. I'm gonna throw some banter. But you've watched Minority Report, haven't you?
Yes.
Actually, it doesn't even have to be Minority Report. It's like any sci-fi movie after Apple released gestures on their iPhone. It's like every computer, they're doing this, and they're doing it so fast. I'm kind of wondering when they take those scenes, because obviously it's not real, it's blue screened or whatever, and they CGI the stuff in later. But it's like, does the director just look at the person and say, I want you to move your hands in the air, and our CGI guy will fill it in. Just do whatever. Our CGI guy will just be like, all right, we need some graphics to follow her hands. Or is there some kind of coordination, like choreography of...
I imagine, because usually it's pretty, like they're going through motions, like they're pulling stuff up, or, putting
stuff away. But... Come on.
They repeat those motions, so I'm sure they went at least over a basic.
I really prefer the retarded monkey report theory. I think that
just let them go, and
it's like you just move your hands. If something makes sense, we'll do that. But our CGI guy, sorry man, you're just gonna have to follow them hands. But anyway, going
7 CGI guys we've gone through on this one project.
No kidding. They've all quit too.
And they've started drinking.
Yeah, no kidding. They lost their families, their jobs. They're questioning reality. 2 of them killed themselves. Your hands, they just can't follow up. I'm going to go back to this now that we've gone completely off topic. But, no, earlier this year, this guy dies while having sex on a business trip. He has a heart attack, and they ruled it a workplace accident. Of course, the safety technician identified as M. Xavier, possibly a professor, but they say he's a safety technician, traveled to the Laureate region, roughly 90 miles south of Paris. This actually happened in 2013 for work when he had sex with a quote-unquote complete stranger. I know what that means typically around in these neck of the woods. Someone was cheating. He might not have been. I'm going to guess he probably was.
A complete stranger, or was it a hired stranger?
It was in quotations. But holy cow.
Stranger danger bag.
Of course, he just continued. I read this, and I actually had an entire thing that I was actually going to say about this. But anyway, his employer, now we're getting to this, the nitty-gritty of it. The Railway Construction Company, TSO, argued that because his sexual activity was not part of work, and because he died in a different hotel in which he was staying at for work, his death wasn't the company's responsibility. The judge says it was. The company said prior to the ruling of the employee's death occurred that he had knowingly... Wait. Let me rephrase this, because this makes no sense the way they wrote it. The company said prior to the ruling of the employee's death that it had occurred when he had knowingly interrupted his work for a reason solely dictated by his personal interest, independent of his employment. So that makes sense. It's like his personal time was interfering with his work time, is what the company said. Unfortunately, the judge said that his death didn't have anything to do with his work performance, but his performance with a complete stranger literally says that.
Or maybe just the stranger's performance was so good.
It killed him.
Yeah, his heart just couldn't take it.
Just couldn't take it. But the Paris court argued that it doesn't matter whether the accident was on the business trip or whether it happened on work or... Okay. I read that wrong. It doesn't matter whether the accident... when the accident occurred during the business trip, whether it was on work time or personal time, unless the employer has proof an employee interrupted his mission for personal reasons. He didn't. It was during his off time. And so apparently it's the railway company's fault that this guy died. They're holding him liable. They literally are. It's their responsibility that this guy is just weird.
Not with a smile on his face.
The court also said that sexual activity is a matter of everyday life, like taking a shower or eating a meal. Happy times in France for all you lonely people. Apparently that stuff just happens every day. And that's it. That's all I have there. Yeah. So,
all right.
But yeah, that concludes everything I have. That's all I got today.
Yeah, I'm out.
You're out?
I'm out.
You're out of them. All right, well, goodness gracious. I guess we'll just end it there. Again, Stephanie, awesome. Thanks. Personal shout out to you. Links are in the description. Anybody else need any of that? Survey on Facebook. Go check that out. If you have an opinion, give it. Also, I don't mind. If you want, I read the comment section when they pop up. Sorry if I don't reply to yours, but I try.
Yeah, we do read them.
We do read them. So if you have opinions,
share them. Joel
will care. I will attempt to care. Thanks. And this is the Non-Verbal Podcast. That's actually the Verbal Nonsense Podcast. And don't forget to like and subscribe if that's what you want to do. And again, if you don't like, just go ahead and just move on. That thumbs down button doesn't apply to you.